If music be the food of love, play on. Hello everyone. Welcome to Grant Loves Shakespeare. And I really do love Shakespeare. You can't call yourself a literary person without reading Shakespeare. And there's quite a lot to read. There are 38 plays, although some people say that there are 40 plays. The good news is it's really easy to read a play. There are 5 acts. You can read 1 act a day, Monday to Friday, and you're finished. You could read all of Shakespeare's plays within a year. Think about that. Think how wonderful that would be to say, yes, I've read Shakespeare, all of it. And as you know, I've gone back to school, and one of the courses I'm taking this semester is English Literature, the British Theatre, from Medieval to Modern. And the second text on the course list is a play by Shakespeare. And not only that, but this video I'll be using for the first project of the semester. So the first project, we were given 6 possible assignments and we had to choose 2 of them. One of them was to choose a passage from the play, Twelfth Night, and translate it into modern English. And I chose that because I thought it would be fun. And the second task that I chose was to memorize a passage and to perform it to the teacher from memory, because I thought that would be a fun challenge. I enjoy the idea of memorizing something. However, one of the other possible tasks for this project was to make a video presentation, and YouTube was even mentioned, discussing some of the themes from Twelfth Night. And it took me an embarrassingly long time to put these 2 elements together. Twelfth Night video, and I have a YouTube channel devoted to literature. So I've abandoned the memorization project, and here is my video discussing some of the elements of Twelfth Night. So the video is a little bit unlike my other videos, but perhaps you'll enjoy it and you'll get something from it. And now I would like to say hello to Professor Kennedy. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Initially, I'm going to talk about the opening monologue, which is spoken by Orsino, the Duke of Illyria, modern-day Croatia. And he opens with this very passionate speech, which gives us the initial glimpse into his character. And we will discover soon enough that Orsino is in love with Olivia, who rejects his love and rejects him. Even though he is a duke, to say very wealthy and premierly established in society, she rejects him because her brother has died, and she said that she's going to remain in strict mourning for 7 years, and she's not going to see anyone. She's just going to cry for her dead brother for 7 years. Orsino has this love with this unattainable woman. So this is very key to the elements of the opening monologue. It starts with perhaps the most well-known first line of any of Shakespeare's plays. If music be the food of love, play on. Now, we've all heard that before, haven't we? It sounds rather nice. It sounds rather wonderful. If music be the food of love, play on. To my mind, that is something people say before a concert, classical music presentation. But I wonder if anyone has ever actually thought about this opening line and what it means actually. If music be the food of love, play on. Well, that sounds very nice, because I think to all of us, to me certainly, I hear 3 words: music and food and love. And I like all 3 of those things quite a bit, especially food. But let's consider it. So love, let's put love over to the side as this nebulous pink cloud. If music be the food of love, what does that mean? So that music is sustaining the emotion of love, or that music gives sustenance to this state of being in love? It seems that music gives that emotional food energy which we use to compose the emotions of love. But it's quite important to see what comes after that initial line. Give me excess of it, that surfeiting the appetite may sicken and so die. He's saying, give me a lot. I'm hungry, and give me so much of it that my appetite for it is killed. I no longer have any appetite for it. Appetite for what? Music, love. Give me so much music that I no longer desire it. It's not just that beautiful opening line. He's saying, allow me to gorge myself so that I no longer have any hunger for it. That strain again. It had a dying fall. So strain here meaning like a melody. It had a dying fall. That is that must be a play on words. Not only was it like diminishing as just as a musical, trailing away, but also if you think about love, that melody meaning love, it had a dying fall. So it tapered off. It fell away. The love, which might once have been the big love, no longer. Oh, it came o'er my ear like the sweet sound that breathes upon the bank of violets, stealing and giving odor. Came in powerful, sweet, like the smell of flowers, of violets. Imagine that, music so beautiful that it smells fragrant. Enough, no more. 'Tis not so sweet now as it was before. That is really something right there. Though the music was so wonderful, so sweet, I've had enough. It doesn't sound as sweet to me as it once did. I don't know about you, but I can no longer listen to the music that I loved when I was in high school. I liked really ugly music when I was a teenager, and there's nothing unusual in that. My tastes were not very sophisticated and I was young. I didn't have a sophistication to really appreciate more creative music as I do today. So saying, no more of that music, no more of that kind of music for that love. I've had enough of that. O Spirit of love, how quick and fresh art thou, that notwithstanding thy capacity receiveth as the sea, naught enters there of what validity and pitch soe'er, but falls into abatement and low price even in a minute. Now that is really complicated. I'm not going to lie, I've got a bit of assistance here from the notes on the side. Love is described here as so hungry it can devour everything and destroy the value of even the most precious things, like the sea. The sea swallows all. It will take down a ship and all of the sailors and all of the cargo, and it will swallow it and it will be gone. And it could do that every minute of every hour since Shakespeare was alive. It could just absorb all of that. And that is love. Love can absorb us completely, wholeheartedly overwhelmed with the spirit of love. But falls into abatement and low price even in a minute. So that great, overpowering, obsessive love quickly becomes cheapened, quickly diminishes. Perhaps, usually the sea is a symbol of consummation. Perhaps he's saying that once love is consummated, it instantly becomes much, much less than what it was a few minutes before. Well, minutes, it depends on your stamina. So full of shapes is fancy that it alone is high fantastical. High fantastical, I take that to mean quite ephemeral, or perhaps even a step further and say imaginary. So this very beautiful quotation from the beginning, if music be the food of love, play on. The next time you hear that, please remember that he is not only talking about the swelling, beautiful emotions of music and love. This, love is all consuming and all encompassing and all destroying. He's saying that to have enough of love so that one becomes, surfeit, full. Like I have gorged myself on the music of love and I have had enough. Having gorged myself, love now to me looks cheap. I can take it or leave it now that I've had my fill. So those are my thoughts on the opening monologue. It's really like there's a lot more there than just that opening line. And it actually makes me feel a little bit annoyed that I've heard this line throughout my life, like it's this grand statement, but what comes after that is really almost depressingly pessimistic. The second thing I want to talk about, so Orsino is this duke in his castle, and he feels that he is in love with Olivia, who is this reclusive woman who absolutely refuses him and doesn't want to see him. And he, every day, sends one of his messengers to go and deliver her a message of love. And this is, maybe it's not a very large part of the play, but for me it felt like a very significant part of the play. And I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story from my life, which I think is related to this element. Once upon a time, I lived in Ottawa and I was a bartender. I worked at I'm a bit embarrassed to say, I worked at the Holiday Inn Hotel for a year. The bar, well, you know, they always want to make a little more money. So they decided to have singles night on Thursday night. This really did generate a lot of sales. A lot of people came in for singles night. One of the regulars from Ottawa who had just come to the Holiday Inn because that was his, you know, that was the place where he liked to drink. You know, the music wasn't loud and it was fairly quiet, and, you know, just you're a regular at the bar. That's your bar, that's where you go. And he was not a man who ever said very much. Watch whatever sports was on television, he'd say hello to me, tip a little bit, and not say very much. He would drink some beers, he would read the newspaper, he would go home. I don't want to draw it out too long. He took a fancy to one of the women, and he called me over, and he was very shy and secretive. And he said, "Grant, I want to send that woman a drink. Go ask her what she's drinking, but don't tell her. Don't tell her. It's like you have to promise me that you won't tell her I'm sending the drink over. Find out what she wants, you make it, you give it to her, I'll pay for it. But do not tell her who sent it over." But then what's the point? So I went over to her, and what was she drinking? Oh, come on, I should remember that. Was it a white wine spritzer, or was it, well, I wish it was a bit more fancy than that, but I think it was just a white wine spritzer. I said, would you like another one of those? One of the guests would like to buy you one. And she said, who? I said, well, would you like another one? And I'll make it, and then maybe I'll tell you who it's from. Like, oh, okay, I'll have another one. And she said, who's it from? I said, look, I know it's a bit peculiar, but he doesn't want me to tell you. And she said, oh wait, I have to do this correctly. I'm talking to her now, I'm serving the bar. So I, look, he's a bit shy. He just wants to buy you a drink, but he wants to be anonymous. And she said, tell me who it was. I said, oh, Jesus Christ, okay, it was him. That guy over there bought you the drink. And this man, really, it was like he was hit with a cattle prod. I forget if he left the bar or if he ran to the toilet, or I just know he panicked and he left. And this woman looked at me like, well, what the hell was all that about? I was like, I don't know. Ottawa boys, they can be quite shy. So I remember that. I've told that long, rambling story because that's how I felt when I was reading about this Duke Orsino sending these daily love messages to Olivia. Because what happens is he gets, I don't want to tell you too much about Twelfth Night, because if I start then it just gets, it's a very complex play. So he gets, what is he called, a page boy named Cesario, who's actually in disguise. And Cesario goes to deliver the message. And he wrangles his way into seeing Olivia, and Olivia falls in love with Cesario like that. Why? Because he said, I'm going to stand here and I'm not going to leave until I meet Olivia and deliver this message in person. And she falls in love with him. Why? Well, let's not ask why about that. But what would have happened if Orsino, instead of sending messengers every day, had done that himself? Instead of sending his emissaries, he took his message himself and said, Olivia, it's me, the Duke. I know your brother's dead, but I'm going to stand right here until you meet with me. I think that is quite significant to the play of Twelfth Night, because he delivers this monologue saying that perhaps I will feast so avidly upon love as to make myself sick with it, because love is not as good as it was when I was younger. But rather than make any effort, like rather than just walk over there, he probably doesn't even have to walk. He's probably got a horse because he's a duke. Just ride his horse over there. Of course he has a horse. Knock on the door, and he's a duke. She can't send him away. Olivia, I want to meet with you. So I think that is a key element to, say, the first little bit of Twelfth Night. There's a lot more in this play. That first line of Act 1, Scene 1 is not all as beautiful and grandiose as it initially sounds once you hear the rest of the speech. And the Duke who speaks that line, if he's really that much in love, why doesn't he just go over there himself instead of sending these boys? And look what happens when he does send the boy. She falls in love with that boy immediately, right away. 12th Night from the library. All right, first of all, Professor Kennedy, I'm sorry that's very long-winded, but I always seem to take the long way round whenever I'm making a point, as I suppose you'll come to know when you read my essays. To all of the rest of you who watch the channel, today is something a little bit different, but I do strongly recommend Shakespeare. I don't know where you're located, but when I was a high school student, we had to read one play by Shakespeare every year. I think in grade 9, we read Romeo and Juliet, tragedy. Grade 10, we read Midsummer Night's Dream, comedy. 11, I think that was when we got Macbeth, the tragedy of Macbeth. Grade 12, it was when we read King Lear. And in Ontario, we have a grade 13. Don't know why, but that's Ontario. And in grade 13, we read The Tempest, which I believe is classified as a comedy, but I don't remember it being in any way comedic. Certainly not like Twelfth Night. Twelfth Night, we have the character of Toby Belch, who is quite funny. Actually, it's not his wife, but his lady friend, Mary, she's quite good. And then even like Toby Belch is actually the smart one. He has a less intelligent friend named Sir Andrew Aguecheek, which I guess if that name was translated today would be like Sir Andrew Shortcock, something like silly like that. Sir Andrew Limpdick. Give Shakespeare a try. Start with, if I just really off the top of my head, if I could give you a list, say, I would say Macbeth. It's a good place to get started. King Lear is absolutely incredible. But there's a lot of very complex ideas. But if you just take the simple story of King Lear, just the plot, really good. And you can actually see it echoed and mirrored in many, many, many other films. They borrow from King Lear all over the place. That's 2. Oh, why did I say 5? Why didn't I say 3? Othello. Othello, yes. I think Othello is one that people have to tiptoe around a little bit. Othello is a Moor, which is to say that he is black, and he gets married to a white Italian woman. And it is, you know, we're all nice and very liberated today, but black man, white woman, not easy. Oh, from last year, one of my favorite, the tragedy I read last year, really, I enjoyed it very much. Coriolanus. Acts 1 to 4, wonderful. Act 5, not so good. And from the comedies, I would say Twelfth Night. Twelfth Night, I can see that, yes, this would work quite well as a comedy. There's enough good stuff in it to make it fun to watch. Live, I mean. To read as a play, I don't think we read Shakespeare for fun. Even when I am reading it for fun in my free time, I am reading it for the sake of my own literary understanding. Because when you do read Shakespeare, that is a really excellent thing. Not only do you see these famous quotations and you can say, hey, man, I've heard that my entire life. That's where it comes from. But also you can read the rest of the text to see, like, maybe that line, as I mentioned today, maybe that's just a little piece of what he was actually trying to say. Maybe it's taken out of context, as people say. Right, thank you very much for watching. Sorry, the video's a little bit late this week. I'm having a hard time keeping up with my university studies and my YouTube hobby. This is Grant Loves Books. I hope you got something from today, and there we go. forgot to say that. All right, cut. Put this at the beginning. All right, I hope that cuts nicely with the bit that I just said. Of course he has a horse. Of course he has a horse.